medal for the 6,000 Jews who protected us during the War of Independence in 1948, for all the soldiers who protected us in the 2 Lebanon wars, for the 776 soldiers killed who defended Israel during the Six-Day War, for the 2,680 who protected Israel in the Yom Kippur War of 1973, and for the missing soldiers. We pray for their swift return. And lastly, we light this candle for all the soldiers, Israeli citizens, tourists, and new immigrants who have been through the many terrorist attacks all over Israel. We pray for the safety of our soldiers who are given their lives for the citizens of the State of Israel.
Please quote, may God remember the valiant men and women who braved mortal danger in the days of struggle, period, to establish the State of Israel, the soldiers who fell in the wars of Israel.
May he who blessed our fathers Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov bless the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces who keep guard over our country and cities of our Lord, from the border with Lebanon to the Egyptian desert, and from the Mediterranean Sea to the approach to the Arava, be they on land, air, or sea.
We're going to, before that, we're going to say Avinu Shebashamayim. Ethan, thank you for being ready. This is a prayer for the State of Israel, which we are singing. You all know Avinu Shebashamayim. Can we all stand up, please? Just before Paul is going to start, he's going to talk about Hannah Senesh. And can you turn the microphone up, please? And Hannah Senesh was, we'll tell exactly where she was born, what happened, but she, again, sacrificed her life to save Jewish people during the Holocaust. And we're connecting the Holocaust also to Yom HaZikaron. She was born in Budapest in Hungary, and Paul is going to tell you all about it. And she wrote a song that the choir is going to sing for us just now.
Hannah Senesh. Hannah was born in 1921 Budapest, Hungary, to a highly cultured Jewish family. Although she was not raised in a Zionist home, she realized at the age of 17 that the land of Israel is a real home. Hannah left her wealthy home in Budapest to go to Israel to fulfill her dream. Hannah was recruited to a secret unit in 1942. She trained very hard and was enlisted as a British officer. On March 1994, Hannah was a parachuter into Yugoslavia near the border of Hungary. She joined the parachuters fighting the Germans and 3 months later attempted to cross the border of Hungary. Unfortunately, she was captured by the Hungarian police and handed over to the Nazis just after.
Gestapo.
The transmitter she carried with her was evidence of the intelligence mission. In prison, she was secretly.
Yeah. Okay.
The Nazis imprisoned her and threatened to escape.
This is what she wrote.
And this is what she wrote in prison. My God, may it never end, the sand and the sea, and the sounds of the water, the brightness of the sky, and the prayer of men.
Can everybody sit down? Yes.
I want to share a couple of stories, two stories, and say a bit of my feelings on Yom HaZikaron when I was in Israel the past 24 years. And I want to start with a story that started at 1948. My rabbi, when he got off the boat after the Holocaust, he got off the boat in Israel, and the army, they came and they put everyone in a row, and they asked whoever held a gun, who held a gun in his life. And about 10 people out of the hundreds of people raised their hands. And they said, okay, whoever held a gun in their hand, take a step forward. So they all took a step forward. And then the soldiers, the officer asked, whoever shot a gun, whoever used the gun to shoot. And another out of those 10 people, another about 3 people raised their hands. They said, take a step forward. And my rabbi was one of them, and they said, anyone who shot with a gun will be from now a commander, will be an officer. And anyone who held a gun will be his deputy, and all the rest are now recruited and are going to be soldiers because it was the middle of the independence war. And for months and months, they fought every day, and Shabbos wasn't Shabbos. And what we do every Friday when we do Kiddush and Hamotzi and light candles, they didn't get to do. They didn't do that. And after almost a year of fighting, there was one Shabbos, one Shabbat that there was no war, no fighting. And my rabbi, he said, well, it's Shabbat. We have to do Kabbalat Shabbat. We have to sing B'chad Dodi and do Kiddush. So he looked in his army base, he asked, who wants to daven? And he found 3 more people who wanted to join him. And they went to the corner and they davened. And then they found some grape juice, and they did Kiddush. And each of them had a slice of bread, and they put it together, and they did Hamotzi, they made Hamotzi. And that was his first Shabbos in the Israeli army. And the next week, there were 15 people. And the week after that, there were 30. And at the end of the war, his whole army base, over 500 soldiers, everyone participated people, some of them who never davened before, who never did Kiddush before, they said they felt a part of the Jewish nation, a part of the Jewish army. And from that one case of one Jew that survived the Holocaust and decided that for him, being in the army is also keeping Shabbos and also taking care of the mitzvot, it became something that when I joined the army a few years ago, every soldier in every army base comes and does Kiddush and Hamutzi. And in my army base, there were about 2,000 soldiers. And every day in the morning, when we tried finding a minyan, we had 15 people or 20 people. And every Shabbos, over a thousand people came to daven. Out of 2,000, over 50% came, and it's not because they did it every week. It's when they were in the army, they felt part of something bigger. And it all started from one person. And I want to continue to one more war, and it's known as the Yom Kippur War. After, in 1967, when the Israeli army won the 6-day war, and in 6 days, they captured double what they had before, and they killed armies that you can't imagine. They were sure that that's it, there'll be no more wars. And they signed peace treaties with Jordan. And then, in the middle of Yom Kippur, that you all know is the holiest day, a war started. The war started, and Israel was attacked from the north by Syria and from the south by Egypt. And they just want to say something about the land, about the area of Israel. In the north is relatively the highest areas. And one area is called the Golan Heights. And that's the borders with Syria from two directions, from north and from east. And the first thing that the Syrians tried capturing was that. And they knew, like you all know also, if from any fight that you would see, that whoever has the higher area has an advantage. And the Israeli army wasn't organized at all. And there was a group of soldiers, it was actually 2 tanks, that protected the border from the south. And the Syrians attacked with over 50 tanks, and there were 2 tanks on the Israeli side. That force is called Savika's force, named for the commander, the officer, that was one of the commanders of the tank. And within a few minutes of that battle, one of the tanks was hit and had to go back. It couldn't shoot anymore. And there was one tank with 4 soldiers inside. And they knew that if the Syrian army would know that it's only one tank, it would be over. So what they did is they shot, and then they moved 20 kilometers to the other side and shot again. And then they moved back 10 kilometers and shot. And one tank was able to hit over 7 Syria tanks and stop a big part of the Syrian army from capturing the area. And 3-4 hours, he was all alone in the tank with 3 soldiers with him. And after a few hours, some reserve soldiers joined, and they were already 7 tanks. And a few hours later, from 7, it became 3. A few tanks were hit. And then this person, Savika, was 40 hours awake, straight, from the beginning of the war. 40 hours, he didn't go to sleep. Over half of it, he was in a tank. And when people are in tanks, you can't really move a lot. You're in a small space. And he was in that for over 20 hours at the beginning of the war. And at the end of the war, this person, after 40 hours, this person, Savika, he collapsed. This person, Savika, he collapsed, and they had to take him to the hospital. He collapsed from dehydration, no sleep, but at the end of the war, he got a medal. And I heard this story from one of the soldiers in his tank when I was up in the Golan Heights with my school, and one of the soldiers with him told me this story. And this person, Savika, he was the last defense. One tank against 50 tanks, and he hit and he destroyed over 10 tanks in those 40 hours. And there are a lot of other stories similar Some of them ended better, some of them ended worse. But at the end of the day, without these individual people, the state of Israel wouldn't exist. And when I was in high school, I was a 3-minute walk from Mount Herzl. That's a cemetery where most of the soldiers are buried. And every year on this day, I would go there and listen to the stories. Their families would be there and would tell us the stories. And in Israel, every Yom HaZikaron, every day, every year, there's a siren, and we'll see now in the video what happens when that siren goes on. But it's something that I personally get very touched when it happens.
Finish with